Hi, my name is Ryan, and welcome to part 3 of our asteroid defense. We're going to program the rocket. We had already programmed the stage and the Earth on the other 2 levels. We came up with some fancy code right here, changed things up a little bit. Now we're going to program the rocket. No promises that we'll get it all done in this video. Actually, you'll probably be able to tell if we finish or not if there's a part 4 after this. So first thing first, let's go ahead and get the rocket set up for the way it's going to look. We're going to tell it to switch to its costume, and we're going to choose it to be a rocket. It's just a red dot. If you look at the costume, nothing super fancy. And then there's the explosion. Okay, and we want it, whenever the program starts, to go to, we're going to go to Earth. Okay, so that way it always comes to the center position, which is where the Earth is located. Okay, and if we were to move the Earth, and you can't really see it right now, but the rocket is there. You can see it when it blinks on the screen when I click on that. Okay, I click on play, my Earth should come back to the center, and we're gonna go ahead and tell it to hide. Okay, and mine's not showing up because it had been hidden previously, which is why it's not there. So let's go to our events. We want to receive a message when I receive, and this is going to be a new message. We're going to call this one fire. Okay, so whenever the message fire is received by the rocket, we're going to tell it to, well, go fire. Okay, and just to make sure we have the right costume, we're going to go ahead and tell it to switch its costume to the rocket. There's a chance it could have gotten off in our code, but we just want to make sure that it is in the proper costume. We're going to tell it to show. We're going to also tell it to point towards the sprite called beacon. So the beacon, which is right here, will be a little bit more impressive than a red dot. It's going to show up somewhere in the game, and then the rocket's going to point towards it, and then we're going to tell it to move towards it. So let's go ahead and do that, and we want to repeat until. This is actually a good strategy that we're doing here, of repeat until, and we're going to tell it to keep repeating until it's touching the beacon. Okay, and we want to choose move. And you can change the speeds whenever you get a little bit more comfortable with the program. I would make sure everything runs properly first. So it's going to keep repeating until it gets to the beacon. And where's the beacon? The beacon is right there. You can see it blinking. It's a little faint white dot right there. So I come back to my rocket, double click on this, and you can see the rocket goes all the way over here until it touches the beacon. But the beacon is hidden, so it's not technically going to touch it. And I click on the green flag tool. You should have noticed that the rocket was right there and it went back to the center. All right, back to work. We're going to tell once it moves and touches the beacon, which it will, okay, because it's pointing towards the beacon no matter what, and the beacon will be on the screen flashing back and forth. We're going to tell it to get to the beacon, and then we're going to have it switch through its costumes to make an explosion. What we'll do is we'll switch from 2, 3, 4, and 5 to make it look like it's expanding, and then we'll reverse it from 5, 4, 3, and 2. Easy, right? So I'm thinking maybe we should just keep it simple this time instead of trying to get fancy with our code, because I want you to be able to see what's going on, especially if you're kind of new to programming. Some of you might actually kind of understand what I did back there, and if you did, you're more welcome to adjust the code to doing what we had done before. Okay, so right here we want to 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's go to control. We're going to get a weight block. We're going to set this equal to, say, 0.025. This is, whoa, that's 0.0025. You only want 1025. Okay, we're going to use this so that way the costumes don't switch too fast, and it helps us keep it under control. And you know, I should have done that multiple. Whoops. I'm going to duplicate that, delete these, duplicate you, put it right there. I'm going to put one out here in case I have to duplicate again, save myself a little bit of time. And we're going to go ahead and we got 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we want to reverse that. So I'm going to choose duplicate, put it right here. Then we'll put 3. Whoops. So I got 4, 3, 2, and 1. And we don't need to go back to the rocket because I've never heard of any rockets that come back together after they explode. and we want to choose it to hide. Actually, we don't need that anymore because we don't need to wait before we hide, because we want to instantly disappear. And we're going to tell the program to send the rocket back to the Earth. And we want to, let's make it wait 0.25 seconds before it goes back to Earth, just to make sure everything's in order. And that way the user can't fire too fast, which could cause it to not look very realistic. And let's go ahead and put it right there. And we're going to create a couple broadcast messages. We're going to insert these inside of here. Our first one is going to be the bomb effects. And the bomb effects message, we'll have to create that. This is going to just kind of be an example of how we can use other blocks of code or other methods or functions to kind of get a feel of object-oriented programming. Next one for this message, we want to, whoa, hold on. I don't think I created this message yet. Let me double check. And get coordinates. Okay, so we want to choose get coordinates, and we're going to, let's switch those. Okay, note I just switched those right there. Okay, and we're going to put this one right there, and we're going to have a couple of hat blocks over here. So when I receive bomb effects, we're going to play a sound, and we want to play the sound until done, called explosion 1. There we go. And oh, actually we want bomb 1 for the bomb effects. Let's go ahead and duplicate that and change this to fire. And we'll change the fire sound to explosion 1. Okay, so they make different sounds. You probably can't hear it on my computer, but you can hear it on yours. So whenever we fire, when we receive the fire message, it'll play this sound and initiate this code right here. And then whenever we get to the point where the bomb should be exploding, it's kind of like it's a little bit out of its initial stages of the explosion, that's when we'll play this sound. It's a little bit about timing. You could probably move this around and put it anywhere you want to. I put it right there, and it seems to work fine for me. Okay, let's move on to our fire button here. And let's click on that. So the fire button is just going to be a message to let the user know that they need to fire. There's really not a button the user will be pressing. It's more of just a kind of signal saying, hey, press me, or press the button to fire. And we want to have its message say button up. And we also want to clear any graphic effects that might be in there. And we want to tell it to go to a specific location. Yours might already be set up in the proper location, but we want it at 200, 160. You can change these values to wherever you want. Doesn't really matter. What's important is that you have it there. Looks, we want to make sure we change the ghost effect. Where are you, ghost? We want to change it by, let's say 75. Okay, so right there, whenever the game starts, it's kind of faded out. You know it's there, but you can't really see it. That's just kind of part of the, letting the user know that there is something there. And once it can fire, it's going to lighten up like that. And we will show what that looks like in a second, because we're going to receive a message called ready fire button right there. Once we receive that, we're going to use the change the ghost effect by. We'll put in negative 75. Okay, negative 75 reverses the positive 75 of the ghost effect. These are called the alpha channel with the transparencies. So whenever we fade this out with the positive 75, remember 100 basically means 100% ghosted out where you can't see it, just to show you what I mean. If I stop this, press it again, you can't really see it. Let's change that back to 75. So it's ghosted out barely. When I click on this though, it's going to go back to its with no transparency. Next, we're going to use when space key is pressed. We're going to put an if condition inside of that. And what we want to do is we want to check for some conditions if the space key is fired, because that's what the user will press in order to fire the rocket. We want to say if spacebar switch is set to 0. Actually, we want, the value of 1. Okay, if it's set to 1, okay, that means if it's true, this is 1, we can fire. Okay, just think of 1 as true and 0 as false. And we want to switch the costumes, so we're going to switch the button down, and then we want to broadcast. This is where the rocket gets its message from. We want to broadcast the fire message, which is right there, and we want to set the spacebar switch to 0. By setting it to 0 right here, we stop the user from being able to just sit there and hammer down on that spacebar and repeatedly fire the rocket. Or if they kept pressing it, we could have a situation where the rocket keeps getting interrupted whenever it's flying across the screen, which takes away from the usability of the program. Some people like their games when they look kind of, like they're messed up, and that's fine. But for now, we're just going to try to pretend that we want to make a game that actually functions based upon the video. And I didn't mean to put that right there. We want to put this right here. So we're going to wait 25.25 seconds, switch the costume back to button up, wait half a second, and then we are going to, let's just duplicate this. We're going to change the ghost effect back by positive 75 so it fades out. So if I press the green hat tool, okay, you can see nothing's really happening yet because we haven't set up all these values yet. But we'll get there. But nonetheless, we know that it works right there. Next, we're going to go to our good friend, the beacon. The beacon is going to perform a pretty important process here for the game. It's going to wait until it receives a message called ready fire button right there. And once it does so, it's going to set our rocket or spacebar switch to +1. So whenever this sprite gets this message, it'll set the spacebar switch to 1. Okay, and if you're on top of things, you're kind of wondering what I'm doing, you're like, hey, couldn't you have done it this way? The answer is probably yes, you could have done it multiple ways. Okay, and that's one thing you'll notice whenever we make programs, is that we can always, manipulate the code in a lot of different ways. Okay, that's one cool thing about programming. You'll come up with your own style of solving problems, and it could be totally unique to you, even though someone else solves a problem just as efficiently as you do. Okay, what happens right here in the go-to, we're setting the X and Y coordinates for this sprite, which is the go-to, with the values of rocket X and rocket Y. That is what those values are coming in from what the user types in right over here. Okay, next we want to get a repeat until. This is where the magic happens. I wonder if I said that already. I can't remember. I tend to repeat myself a lot. If I do, let me know. Okay, repeat until it's touching the rocket. Okay, so this thing is just going to sit here and keep switching costumes. We'll just choose next costume. Where'd you go? There you are. We're choosing next costume because it's easier just to use this, because it automatically goes through a sequential order of the costumes right here. You can do this with any sprite. However, some sprites have a lot of costumes that don't, how should I put it? They're not in some sort of like coherent sequence with one another. So you need to make sure. Now watch this. If I run this program, where's the beacon at? Where are you, beacon? Okay, I can't find the beacon. You'll just have to trust me on this one. It's probably because it's at null location. That's not helping us out, but I'll show you later. What I wanted you to see was that if we didn't have this wait block where we caused the beacon to wait 1/10 of a second, or 100th of a second, excuse me, that it would just be blinking so fast you wouldn't see anything take place on the screen. Next, we want another wait block. We're going to make this wait 0.05. And you might be wondering where I got these values. I got these values just from kind of playing around with it and seeing what I liked. Okay, nothing super serious. All right, let's run our program. Enter the x-axis. We're going to send 50, y, 0. There's my beacon. You can see it right there. I press the space bar, and then the rocket fires. So yours should be working pretty much up to this point. We'll go ahead and finish up this video and let's save the asteroids for the next video. Those will be pretty easy. It'll probably take about 6 or 7 minutes to get those done. All right, so thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.